There are so many different types of web hosting accounts to choose from, and it can get a little confusing and a little overwhelming to keep tabs and to understand the different types of hosting so that you could choose the right hosting for your situation and for your needs. And that's the purpose of this video, is for it to help you be able to choose the right web hosting for you. Hi, my name is Adam from WPCrafter.com, where I make WordPress tutorial videos for non-techies. And if you're new here, consider clicking on the subscribe button and make sure to hit that notification bell. Okay, so we're going to jump into this video. It's going to be more presentation style like this. So let's just go ahead and get started. First, I want you to know what to expect in this video. Number one, this video is going to help you choose the right hosting for you, whether you just want one website, multiple website, e-commerce website, online learning course website, you're a web developer and you're hosting websites for clients. That's what this video is for, to help you choose the best web hosting package for you and for your needs. Now, it's also going to be very helpful to identify what other types of hosting are out there and what you should be looking for when deciding what host is for you, so that you can know when it's time to change web hosting providers, because we all start someplace, but then we might need to make changes as time goes on. And so I'm going to help you identify those. Now, you might be surprised, but this video is not going to be me making recommendations saying go to this host and get service there, or this host. That's not what this video is for. This video is for explaining the different types of hosting that are out there so that you know what type of service to pursue for your needs. Okay, but if you are interested in recommendations, my website that I have all those at is NewHosting.com. I have a lot of information there on the different types of hosting that we're going to talk about in this video, different top tier companies that provide services, reviews for those companies. I've got it all right there, and I've got something new that I've recently added there, an uptime monitor page. So most of these hosts I have a website on. I'm doing real-time monitoring to see the uptime every minute and to test the load time. And I'm paying for this, and I'm making this available to whoever visits NewHosting.com. They'll be able to view this page, or you could just go to my website, WPCrafter, and click on hosting. Both take you to the same exact place. Now, surprisingly, I don't think you should put all the weight in your decision based upon that uptime monitor page. It is nice. I've got it right here. This is what it looks like, and you can see the name of the company. You can see their uptime over the past 7 days, but you shouldn't put all of your decision in what you see there, because this is really just showing you the uptime for the one server that has my one website on that one service. So a lot of these companies have thousands of servers that they're managing. All this is going to show you is the uptime of one, and it could be something related to a WordPress update or something along those lines that caused a little bit of downtime. It is actually very normal. Obviously, we all want 100% uptime. That's the goal, and the hosts want to provide that. I'm just saying that one person's experience might not mirror someone else's, and there's other things to consider and look for when choosing a web host. But I did want to make this uptime monitor available for you and for the people that visit my website. So we have a big problem when it comes to hosting, and it usually boils down to expectations, right? So we all want the Ferrari, right? We want the nice, fast, beautiful car. Or maybe if you're not a Ferrari person like me, you might like a convertible, luxurious Bentley. And that's kind of what we all want. That's what we're expecting. But we don't all have the budget for that. We might just have the budget for a Toyota. Now, there's nothing wrong with Toyotas. I've been driving Toyotas for years. But the experience that I get with a Toyota versus the experience in a Ferrari are obviously going to be different. The price tag is different. The handling is different. The interior is different. Every aspect of these two experiences are going to be different. And that is a lot of how hosting is. We want the Ferrari, but we might only have the budget for the Toyota, and that's okay, but you just want to go in with the right expectations. And that's why you could see one hosting package costs $5 per month and one hosting package costs $500 per month. There's this difference, but there is something that you get that's different depending on what you pay, just like whether you're buying a Toyota or a Ferrari. I personally wouldn't want a Ferrari, I prefer a Bentley. But who are we kidding? I'm probably never going to drive a Bentley. Anyways, so I've broken down to the 4 criteria that you should use when deciding and evaluating various hosts. And I like to call this, and I coined this term, I didn't get it from anywhere else, is the 4 S's of hosting. Okay, so the first S is speed. So depending on the plan that you choose and the companies, you want to be looking for how fast is your website going to load? So that's the first one, speed. The next one is support. Are you going to get support, not just my website's down, can you help me, but support like, I don't know what happened to my WordPress password, I can't log in, can you maybe fix that for me? Or I'm trying to update this plugin, it's not working, can you fix this for me? WordPress specific support. Okay, so the different support you get, and I think support is actually one of the most important experiences that you want to evaluate when choosing a web host, is the support experience that you're going to get, the level of help you're going to get, and do they have a WordPress expertise? Next is security. Are they going to, number one, include a free SSL certificate? That's a must nowadays. There are some hosts that still don't do this. A lot of them have been getting on the bandwagon, but security goes a lot further than just that. Another side of security is, are they taking proactive measures to prevent and block brute force attacks on your website, scanning for vulnerabilities on your website, things like that. That is what I'm talking about when I'm referring to security. Also, side note with that, not all web hosts, and this is a big pain point for people, is if you have an outdated plugin on your website gets a vulnerability, gets hacked into, and now you've got all this junk on your website. Is your web host going to clear that out for you? And most web hosts actually don't, but there are certain ones that you do pay more for that are more than happy to clean your website out for you. And next comes specialty. And what this is does the web host provide any specific features for WordPress users? And so specialty would be a staging area. And what that means is, instead of just updating your website and then later finding out there's a problem, that you can log in, click a button, one button, and it'll create this separate instance of your website where you can go and test different things, test different design things, update plugins and see if it causes any problems. This kind of staging area. So that's a perfect example of a specialty. Another specialty is some form of caching, and that's a speed optimization. Do they have some of these WordPress specific specialties? Some of the hosts will update your website for you. They'll do all of these different things. So that's one of the things you want to evaluate when choosing a web host for you. So okay, now we're going to get to it. There are 8 different categories of hosting. Some of these are closely related, but you can easily break them down into 8 different categories. This is something else that I came up with when looking at all of the different types of hosting to organize it this way in the way that makes the most sense. So you're going to have your first type of hosting, which is basic shared hosting. This is the hosting that a lot of us will start out with our first website on. I sure know that I did with basic shared hosting. There isn't much by way of special features on it for WordPress users. Most of them do not have specific WordPress related support, so you're not going to them and asking them to reset your WordPress password, and it's just your basic shared hosting. And this is the most affordable type of hosting. We all start here, but eventually we try to move on beyond here. Next is 2 different types of managed WordPress hosting. Okay, so some of them have something called cPanel, and it's a control panel that allows you to install your websites. It allows you to create email accounts, access the file system, and do all kinds of stuff like that that you may want to do to make it easier to manage all of your different websites that you have. So there's cPanel based managed WordPress hosting. You pay just a little bit more for this type of hosting, but it tends to be more stable and a more smooth experience. Plus, because it's managed WordPress, they're usually going to have some way of updating your plugins and themes for you and some additional features like staging, environments, and stuff like that. So that's going to be your cPanel. Now there's the custom managed WordPress hosting providers, and what they've done is for optimal performance, they have done away with this industry standard cPanel and instead created their own custom control panel. Now, one of the things when it's a managed WordPress hosting that has their custom panel, just about every single time they do not include email hosting. So if you want to also have your web host, have your email, and I'll have a separate video on why you would or would not want to do that, this category of managed WordPress hosting providers, that's just not an option. And it's simple. You usually would just use Google Apps or some kind of third-party service for your email hosting. But those usually give you the most phenomenal type of speed and specialty out of all of the different web hosts for WordPress. But they also have a different billing method usually, and they charge you, you choose a plan and you get a certain amount of visits, unique visitors to your website in a month. If you go over that, you might get bumped up to the next package, or you might get charged some kind of a surcharge fee. And so that's going to be typical when you have managed WordPress hosting with their custom control panel. Like I said, if you visit NewHosting.com, I have it all kind of broken down there, the different companies that have these different types of services, so it all makes sense. Now, there's a new type of hosting that I've seen, and there's only one or two hosting providers that have this type of service right now, and it's called Managed WooCommerce Hosting. It's going to be a lot like Managed WordPress Hosting, but the environment has been optimized for WooCommerce e-commerce shops. And they usually come included with some services that are outside of WordPress that make running an e-commerce shop that much easier, that much smoother, and that much more efficient and strategic. Like I said, this is a newer type of hosting that you are not seeing everywhere just yet. It might catch on, who knows, but it's something that is going around right now. Next, you would have reseller hosting. So what reseller hosting typically is it's just like basic shared hosting, but it allows you to create these separate containers of web hosting accounts that you can use for individual clients. So obviously you can have any type of hosting plan that allows you to have more than one website hosted on it, and you could put a client's website on it. But the only thing is if you have your personal website and your client's website, you're not going to want to give your client an actual login because now they can access your stuff. So that's what reseller hosting is for. So typically you find this with cPanel based hosting, and what it does is it allows you to create unique individual cPanel accounts so you can have all of your clients' websites and email accounts separate from each other, and it allows you to create these cPanel accounts. You pay one fee and you get a certain amount of resources, and then you would just allocate them to each one of your clients. This is great if you're a web agency and you want to keep all your clients separate. But like I said, you can turn any web hosting account into a reseller account, really, as long as your client doesn't need to actually log into the account in order to manage or maintain anything. Not only that, but they won't ask you for the login. That's going to be uncomfortable if you have them on your hosting account and then they ask for the login and you're like, sorry, you're not getting this. Next is cloud hosting, and cloud hosting has been going on for a while. Now, cloud hosting is not for the faint at heart. It's literally, just imagine a Linux server. Everything has to be done with a terminal command line, typing in commands, and there's no control panel. There's no support. There's none of that available to you. Now, in this instance, I'll mention a few names of companies. There's DigitalOcean, there's Linode, there is Vultr. You're literally just buying this dedicated container of resources. There's no control panel or anything to manage it. And if you have a problem, you are completely 100% on your own. It's not for most people. But if you would consider yourself a Linux system administrator or know enough to get by on the command line, terminal, SSH, and all of that, guys, you know, I can actually do that, and I've had my own cloud hosting before, and I could do it just fine, but it gave me anxiety because I knew enough to get my website going, but I didn't know enough to solve problems if those problems came up. So even me, even though I have the ability to have a cloud hosting, I chose not to. Now, cloud hosting is going to get you the best performance at the lowest price. It is insane what you could do with cloud hosting. But thank goodness there's something called Managed Cloud Hosting. And this is a new category as well. So essentially what they're doing is they're taking those cloud hosting servers, and you would instead order it through the managed cloud hosting provider, and they will provide you a control panel to make it really easy to install WordPress. And they're also going to provide some of them also provide support. So you can ask for help if there's a problem with your server, problem with your website, anything like that, you get the help. But the only thing is you're paying almost double, twice the cost of just going and getting that cloud server yourself. I will say that I have used, the big dog is Cloudways. They're the main company that are pioneering this managed cloud hosting type of hosting, and I've used them before, and they are fantastic. I have a full tutorial and review coming out on Cloudways, the pros and cons of Cloudways. But that's not what this video is about. Okay, then you have VPSs, virtual private servers, and this is actually going to be very similar to what you would get with the cloud hosting, except think of cloud hosting but with a cPanel control panel that you can have to make it easy to add email accounts and have multiple websites and all of that. But you're getting some dedicated resources and you're paying more for it, obviously. And you can also use a VPS most of the time if it comes with something called WHM. It allows you to create those separate cPanel accounts if you wanted to also use it for reselling. Now, most VPS services, that does come with support, so you can go and ask for help if you run into any trouble. And lastly, we've already made it through 7. The last one is just a dedicated server. So you go to the hosting company and they have full dedicated servers, so the entire machine, 100% of its resources are for you. Now, you could get these with the operating system on it, or it could just be Linux. You can terminal and SSH in, or they can have cPanel or WHM on it, and then you can use that just like you would use the virtual private server, except you have more resources, and those resources are dedicated to you. So this is going to be your dedicated server. So most of us actually are going to end up starting using basic shared hosting and then move up to managed WordPress hosting. And then there's that decision of going with the ones with cPanel or the ones that have their custom control panel, but you have that kind of a metered experience where you might have to pay more depending on how many people actually visited your website that particular month. And then you might move up from there onto managed cloud hosting. And I have managed cloud hosting right now because I need tip-top peak performance, and I like having the dedicated resources. Okay, so what is next? So I just listed out 8 different categories of hosting. So what's next is I have a dedicated video on each of these types of hosting coming, and I will link them in the video description box down below. So if you've watched this video and you say, I'm most interested in managed WordPress hosting that has the highest performance, and that's going to be the one without cPanel and with a custom control panel. And so I have a dedicated video on that where I'm going to go over some of the various companies and their pros and cons of each of those companies to help you choose one that is perfect for you. Expect those 8 videos linked in the video description box down below. And then from those videos, there will be an individual review of the individual hosting companies and kind of a video to show you around the service, to make it that much easier to start using the service and using it to its fullest. A lot of these web hosting services, it's hard to review from a longevity standpoint, but I can certainly use the service and understand the control panel, do a review of that, a review of the support, a review of the speed at that moment, a review of the specialty at that moment, and I can do all of that. So that's what those particular videos are going to be. Like I said, if you visit NewHosting.com, I've got the uptime monitor right there, and I've got links to these individual reviews right there as well, just to make it as easy as possible for you to choose the right web hosting service for you. You don't have to just make the choice that someone is suggesting to you. I really want you to understand the different types of hosting so you can choose the right one that meets your needs today, tomorrow, or might be the next type of leveling up, which is a good thing, right? You know, when your website is doing good, getting good traffic, you might want to level up and get higher performance. So that's it for me in this video. I want to know what you think in the comment section down below. Any specific questions you have about web hosting. I'm glad I stuck to my rule of no recommendations in this video. I hope you can take it at that face value. And so if you've appreciated that, or if you've learned anything in this video, consider giving it a thumbs up, and remember to subscribe and click on the bell for notifications for future videos like this. Hey, I appreciate you spending this time with me today to make sure you choose the right hosting that meets your needs. I can't wait to see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.